Okay, let's go over this. Something that we have to do quite often is we have one board left over that's a 1x, right? And we've got to clamp it. And we want to clamp it securely because we don't want that breaking loose or the clamps falling off. So with these clamps that are supplied with these Woodland mills, they're nice clamps. They're quick clamps. They work pretty good. The only situation they don't work good in is when you have a small board or a not very thick board. They will hit right there if you don't have a thick board to clamp these on with, right? So right now I've got 3 1x's sitting in this one, and that is clamped nice and secure. And over here I just had a 2x that was laying around, a piece of 2x, so I clamped that on that side, and that holds that board nice and secure for cutting. Okay, it's time to roll one of these big guys onto the bunk. So looks like we gotta do a little cleanup. Main thing I want to make sure I do is I lift this head way up in the air so that I can't smash that log into the main frame of the mill, right? So it gives me a little more clearance to come by here, about another 6 inches right there. To come by there, you can see I've actually got to roll this. I got to bring it back closer to the mill, so I'll have to angle a little bit to bring it back next to the mill. But once I get these big logs on there, I usually have to slide them and back and forth. I have different methods I've used to slide them. We'll see how this works today. Okay, I'm not sure why I did this, but I did cut this quite long. 17 feet 8 inches. Okay, that log is 15 on the far end and only 11 and a half on this smaller end. So I think what I want is a 4.5 by 8 beam, 16 foot long, 16 foot 6 inches, 16 foot 8 inches, somewhere in that ballpark. So we may, let's see, lift this end up a little bit, put a little brace underneath it. Thickness here, and then we can get to the 8 on the other side. While I'm doing this, I'm going to do 1-inch slabs off of it. I will cut these down to 8 footers. So looks like this piece down here isn't going to be salvageable, but I can get at least a 1x4 out of this end over here, 8 foot long, if not more. Looks like. Can we get 6 out of that? No. just because of this one little spot here, right there. We're only going to get a 1x4 out of that. You can see up here we've got potential for an 8, but we're going to have to cut it down to a 1x4, but we'll slice off 1-inch pieces. I'll probably do one more on this side, and then I'll flip it totally over and slice it down on the other side. See what we get. So this is our 8 side. So we got to make sure we've got 8 here, and we don't have quite 8 here. So I'm going to take another inch off to get to my 8 there at least. You can see I definitely probably should have raised that up in the air a little bit farther. So I may even have to take another 2 to get my 8. But we've got so much on that. The far end is such a big log that we should be fine. Okay, yeah, so these beams are definitely take a lot more time, right, and effort to do. I mean, especially when they're 16 foot something. A lot more weight, a lot more cutting. You can see they get a lot of scrap stuff that's going to have to be cut off the edges. You know, so there's a lot more to do to get the beams done. But it's worth it when you get some nice straight beams, heavy duty with this ash that can be used for anything like, well, you can see my shed up there. Those were 16 foot 6-inch beams that I used to build that up there, right? So we will get this. So what I did here is I kind of looked at it, and I wanted to make sure. So at 11 here, I'm still on the wood, which I think I'm gonna be okay down here at the end. It's gonna be close. I may have a little bit down here on the end with bark on it. If I have to take another shaving, I will. But I kind of estimated, I jacked it up with this jack to get me up in there on this end. And then if I look at these ones, you know, you can see where 11's going to cut. 11's going to cut. 11's going to cut. And where 11's going to cut down in there, I could actually take it, take a swipe at 12, and then do one at 11 and get an 8-footer that will be 4.5 inches wide. Looks like I need to work on the back side a little bit to square it up. Definitely a lot more work when you're making beams because you want to make sure you get them nice and square. So take your time, make sure everything's right before you make your next cut. So here's what I did. Slid that over too far and it's actually hitting the wheel, hitting this part right here. So this comes in contact with that. The wheel went by, but it hit the nut on there. So I gotta move that back over. Kind of shimmed a couple things in here to make sure we don't move. So if we take a look at this, we have all 16 feet 8 inches a nice square edge here, so we've got good material left, no bark on it. Looks really good. So now we just gotta flip it over, do the other side, and then we can roll this guy out of here. Okay, this is what we have. We have the finished product of our, at least our beam. So you can see there's this log was actually out in my woods for 2 years up on other logs, right? So you can see it almost looks like it's spalded like maple does. Right? It did have some spalding on it. I guess maybe they call it spalding because some fungus gets into it and starts to eat away at it, and it gives it different coloring. I mean, it's still solid, but it definitely has some spalding, which is neat. You can see this is a nice looking beam. Alright, let's get this guy rolled out and we'll start working on milling up those pieces there. Okay, we're going to slide this beam out. That's one of the disadvantages that I have on the system I set up. It's nice to bring logs in and roll them right on. You know, they're lifted off the ground, no dirt. Come in, roll them right on here. They're dirtless, pretty for the most part. But I don't have a way to get a tractor in here to lift these beams off of here. Well, I can come in from the other direction, but as you can see, I've got wood piled over there, and that's kind of a steep bank there as well. So we use these little pieces of maple. I'll lay them out and we can slide this off, and we will roll them right on those and roll them out here, where I can pick them up with the tractor, take it over to my beam pile and put it in with the rest of my beams. So that's it. Just roll it right out there. Of course, she's only sitting on 2 of them, but that's fine. We can pull the tractor right up here with the forks, lift her up and take her over there. So she'll sit right here until I get a chance to do that. And we'll move on to our 1-bys that are over there and get them cut up into something usable to stack. Okay, I missed recording. We just selecting out some of these that are about the same size. So what I did here is most of them that were approximately the same width, I selected them out, put them up here on the rack, and left the other ones. There's a couple of really wide ones, and then there's a couple of really skinny ones, right? So that'll be after these ones. So on this one, we have quite a bit of height on this end, and it tapered way off right down on this end. So what I did is, out of 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, they tapered off pretty good. This 5th one didn't taper off, so I left that one alone, but I stuck a 2x4 underneath these 4 of them, the 1, 2, 3, 4. So I slid it as far back to this wall, set all these on top of it, and my first cut will be around 10 inches. So we'll see what we get after that, and then what I can do is I can cut down to you know, 8.5 inches and get some 1 by 1.5 by 1s, which I can use for stickers if I don't get a nice straight edge on these. So here we go. Alright, you can see I left a little bit of bark on that one. That's alright. And the rest of them are clean all the way down. You can see the spalding on these too. Alright, let's flip them over and see what we can get on the other side. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up for the day again. So we ended up getting 2 logs. We got an 8-footer and a 16-footer done. Both of them are ash, which take a lot longer, especially these 16-foot ash. It's 4.5 by 8 beam there, and then of course out of the rest of the stuff we ended up getting a bunch of 1x and some 4x6. Right, so all looks good. You probably wonder why I spend so much time scraping. It's because when I build with it, the sawdust falls in my eyes if I don't scrape as much as I possibly can off. So that's just a, you know, if you take the time to scrape it off now, later on it's not quite as bad, or else you just got to scrape it off later on, one or the other. Alright guys, I appreciate you watching, and next time we'll get some more of these logs on there, or maybe we might drag some back in or do something different, drop some trees. We'll see what the weather brings us. It's raining and in the 30s right now, so we're starting to melt. Definitely going to get some melting. It's supposed to be in the 50s tomorrow, so should get a lot of melting action. Alright, thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day. Bye.